day, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Greatly Grant channel. In this channel, we are talking about the UAG grant updates and information, and also we are also going to be updating you on the Theobarth and IMF and other grant informations. If you are new on this channel, consider subscribing so that when next we publish our next video, you will be kindly notified. Thank you once again for having me on Greatly channel. Bye for now.
We have on the platform Reverend Winner Paul, who has given an ultimatum towards the delivery. Else, I wanted to pay attention to him. He has one or two things to deliver in this perspective and possibly towards our course. Sorry, don't mind my voice as natural. All right, so let's listen to Winner Paul give us an update concerning the delivery and disbursement. Thank you very much. Winner Paul, your time now.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on the time that this BN gets to you. My name is Reverend Dr. Winner Paul. In my last VN, which was released on the 7th of January 2026, under the platform of Grant Solution Movement, as ably led by Chief Admin and the Bright. It was equally circulated on other platforms across the country, reaching far and wide. I did appeal to the grant community to give sufficient time to the grant community decide movement, GCDM, ably led by our amiable president, Reverend Dr. Moses from Abuja, and have confidence in their leadership, and also enough confidence that they are telling us the truth and that sooner or later they will deliver on their promise. After I delivered that voice note, a man called Tunde Jr. tagged my VN and accused me of having collected money and asserting that I have come late, meaning that I am a sponsored agent and that he will proceed with his planned protest in spite of my VN. Fortunately, the following day, being Thursday, the 8th day of January, the GCDM president, Reverend Moses, released a voice note sequel to his interaction with the TTLP, ably led by Pastor Donald Obasokuri, anchored by one Enyam, where We were told they had discussed and are working in synergy. We saw that as a good development. We need to synergize. We need to speak with one voice. We need to be on one page. I have no problem with what Tunde Jr. is doing, because he has made good his promise by breaking rank and going out there to commence tweeting contrary to Reverend Moses' instruction and that of Andy Bright, who also distanced himself from such protest pending the date I suggested, which was the 15th of January. I had earlier said the year is still young. January is still young. Let us give the leadership of the GCDM the benefit of the doubt, because they are interfacing and working perhaps hand in hand with the stakeholders of this grant disbursement. And although Reverend Moses has not gotten to us with the latest updates, perhaps it was strategic. So we should be patient rather than behave like the Israelis who tried to get for themselves another leader who would take them back to Egypt. And they called on Aaron, who made another God for them. We know the consequence of such action. For those of us who are conversant with the biblical story. Now, my point in making this VN today is to call the attention of all the grant community. And by that, I mean all the stakeholders, all the mother and father grant handlers, all the mother and father NGOs, all the CEOs, all the cluster heads, and all would-be beneficiaries cum subscribers. To note that today, being Sunday, the 11th of January, is the beginning of the last week of the patience of the masses with regard to the disbursement of this grant, much awaited grant. Why do I say so? We have had several promise and fail, shifting of goalposts, and moving away our hopes to further days, times, and time again. We are happy that the grant ecosystem has decided, except for Tunde Jr., who has a handful of persons with him already tweeting, that most parts of the ecosystem are still on the side of the GCDM. And so we appeal to all and sundry to know that this week, and when I say this week, between today and Friday, which will be the last working day of the week, the grant ecosystem is expecting nothing less than the good news. Not just the news, the results. And that result is expected to be testified to by every subscriber in his bank account. We expect that alerts would have reached, if not all, most of the subscribers on or before Friday. I had said 15th, but Andy Bright, in his wisdom, had extended it to 16th. And so shall it be. 16th is the last day of our patience. After the 16th, and the story remains the same, God forbid, but should it be so, I will join forces with Tunde Jr. and I will galvanize as many NGOs, as many CEOs, and as many subscribers as possible to go into the protest full swing, that is, assuming Reverend Moses fails to call for such. Why I say so? I have observed and have equally confirmed from one of the persons that reached out to me after my last VM that we, especially those of us who bear this title, Reverend, have been tarnished, have been maligned, have been subjected to ridicule and name calling simply because of a few individuals among us who bear the same title but are seen to be doing the opposite. Some of them have soiled their hands. Some of them have betrayed the confidence that is reposed on them and the trust that the common believers have on them arising from their title. Today, if you go through the social media, especially on grant disbursement platforms, you will see that each time a person introduces himself as a pastor or reverend, there will be some forms of mockery, there will be forms of throwing of garbage at such an individual. This must not be allowed to continue. We must begin to redeem ourselves. There could be some bad eggs among the ministers, the pastors, the reverends, the bishops, and whatever other titles and appellations that we may tag ourselves with. I represent a new brand of ministers, those that have not soiled their hands, those whose hands cannot also be soiled by the grace of God. I am not a CEO. I am not a grant handler. I am not an NGO owner. I am just a subscriber, an ordinary subscriber. At best, I own one cluster, which is peopled by members of my host community as a pastor. And I had bankrolled all of them from my pocket with the intention to empower them as my contribution towards adding value to their lives. When these promise and fail scenarios were occurring time and time again, I became a victim of the disappointments. How do I mean? I had assured everyone through my own channels that funds are coming. Not once, not twice. Remember, I live within my host community. They see me very frequent. And we interact. They know my house. They can come after me if I had taken anything from them. But thank God I did not. But the fact that I have not been able to fulfill the promise, they have not yet seen the result, has put me in a precarious situation, both as a person and as a minister among them. This must not be allowed to continue. And then the fact that most of the prominent mother NGOs, grant handlers, and CEOs are known to be pastors and reverends and bishops and so on, makes it even more deplorable. Therefore, I shall expect that the good news we're expecting this week will be a turning point and will really erase all the negative aspersions that have been cast upon the clergy as a result of failure to disperse before today. Therefore, I shall ask that everyone join us in prayer to ensure that we get over this once and for all. And as we pray, we shall also be watching. And as we watch, we shall also be preparing. We will pray that God grant us our requests. We will watch to see if the answer has been granted. And where it is not, we will be prepared to do everything necessary to make our voices heard where they are supposed to be heard. I therefore pray that we shall not get to that point. Pray that baby's head that has been announced to have come out since December last year, and the surgical operation, which has been confirmed to have been successfully done by January this year, will translate into alerts within this week that we have entered. This week is the week that will determine the truth of the whole matter. We shall keep our fingers crossed. We shall be fully expectant, and we will trust God to do for us what is best, which is the disbursement. I would not like to say anything more than this. I will trust that God will help us to get to our destination in peace, so that after the disbursement, we will have more friends than enemies. I am not against anyone, and I wish everyone well.